Freedom Day came and went. And people obviously have now been told that they have to go into clubs with a double jab going forward. So to give people like a timeline on how things happened, the government announces Freedom Day to be the 12th of July. So it's supposed to be the 21st of June. The clubs then opened up at 12:01 on the 19th of July, which is a Monday.
Right.
So Monday, 12:01 a.m., clubs are like opening up. The queues for all the clubs in central London were starting in the early afternoon. People were just dying to go out, and I can see why. They just want to get pissed, obviously hook up, and just be around people again. But this is the weird thing about the government. Exactly that, yeah. Because you can get pissed at home, innit? Like, anyway. So, here's the weird thing, right? The government says it's fine. Then 2 days later, they announce, so people now have to have 2 jabs to go into clubs from September onwards. And that's the only way you can then enter into a nightclub. And as of the 19th of July, only 35% of adults aged 18 to 30 have had their first jab. Sorry, have not had their first jab. So only 65% have taken it up.
Again.
Only 65% of adults aged 18 to 30 have had their first jab.
So the population not going to go clubbing. Okay,
yeah. So it's sort of leaving a weird one now, because where do you stand on it? Like, where do you stand personally? I know where I stand on it, but I want to get your opinion first.
So essentially your point here is that the government is mandating and making it compulsory that you must have 2 jabs and have evidence and have a passport. Yeah. Personally, I agree, man. Like from a doctor's perspective, I want herd immunity. I want people vaccinated. Just the other day, man, I was around... Where was I, man? I was somewhere, non-hospital setting, and there were 2 people, right? And there was a 26-year-old next to me, so younger than me, and there was a 35-year-old. And again, as a doctor, I'm aware of what people think about vaccines, and this vaccine in particular. Oh, vaccines take years to test. This has been done 6 months. Is it safe? Have you done all the testing? Blah, blah, blah. So the 30-year-old plus guy, I was like, how many vaccines do you have? He said, I've had 1. He goes, but I've heard, but the second one is where it happens. I was like, where, what happens? And he was like, that's when you get the reaction.
Undertaking. That's what the undertaking occurs.
Right, and I was like, where are you getting this from, man? I was just like confused, so I had to talk to him. And then the 26-year-old, I was like, have you had the vaccine? He's like, no. And I was like, why? And he's like, I think if I have the vaccine, I'll just won't be able to walk. And I was like, where is this coming from, man? I was like, yes, everything has potential side effects, right? But again, this is the same point I make to the people that say COVID's not real and all that kind of shit. It's like, you would have to bribe every single doctor in the NHS, every single nurse, every healthcare professional to buy that story if this was a hoax, right?
Yeah.
And the people who think it's a hoax and have had it, like this guy who I was talking to, he was like, I've had COVID. And I was like, right, so you know it's real? And he's like, yeah, I understand it's real. And I was like, okay, so that's one thing. That's the first part, the conspiracy. But the second part, I'm like, look, all of us, all the healthcare professionals, all vaccinated. Again, if we had concerns, one of our roles, one of the things we get taught to do, okay, when we're studying medicine, is do critical appraisals, which means when somebody presents evidence, there are levels of obviously of evidence, right? Where the highest level of evidence being what we call a Cochrane review, a meta-analysis. That's basically, so rather than taking, if I want to say, let's say Indy, doing Bertke, so doing a squat, a Bhangra squat, increases quadriceps size. That's my hypothesis, right? Mm-hmm. And what I do is, if I just looked at, what university did you go to?
Queen Mary.
Right, so Queen Mary's never did any bird kiss, so there's no point asking. But if we looked at Queen Mary's and we did that was one study, and we extrapolated that, all right, these guys did bird kiss squats 4 or 5 months, and we measured the quadriceps, they went up. Right, we think, okay, we can say that's a
correlation between that, yeah.
But it's not significant because it's not proven against different ages, different races, different genders. But if I took Bhangra teams across the world, different ages, did the same thing, same period of time, controlled all the other variables, and it pulled all those studies together, we call that a meta-analysis. That's the highest grading, right? Okay. So when we're looking at where a new medication's coming to market, we're looking at a new treatment. We always compare it to what's the current practice, the kind of, the baseline, the placebo, whatever you're comparing to, and is this better than what there already exists? Because then you have to get cost analysis and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So part of what we do is appraise literature. We are looking for science to prove something. Fact. That's what we're looking for. Now, obviously, science isn't absolute, but we're looking for the facts that point in the right direction. So with respect to vaccine and vaccine side effects, a lot of us have done that thing personally, looking at AstraZeneca, looking at Pfizer, looking at all these things, the things that are being reported. What's the frequency of it? And is it actually more than actually the general population risk of getting, say, a blood clot, for example?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bearing that in mind, a vast majority, I don't know any people that I work with that haven't been vaccinated. So my standpoint is, I understand where the uproar is, because I've had a couple of people messaging me saying it's about choice, right? It's about how the value and the weight.
It's not about choice. It's not about choice. Like, okay.
No, it's not about choice.
Well, it is about choice, but then it's taking the piss, because by you choosing to not do that, you're still endangering other people. So look at the Delta variant, for example, right?
Exactly, yeah.
With this Delta variant shit that's come out, you can be vaxxed double and you can still get it and it can still run through your family. So I'm like, okay, that's with 2 vaccines. What the fuck do you think is going to happen with 1 vaccine? If you think you're fine, you might be fine. But what about the person you're sitting next to? They might not be fine. Then what? Are you going to feel okay about that? No. So think before you fucking act.
Well,
right?
Yeah, no. But see, again, in that situation, in that scenario, what your thought process is, if somebody has a utilitarianism approach, which is the greater thing for the greater good, right? But actually, after 18 months, 2 years of COVID, I think people are entitled to be a bit selfish, man. I understand where you're coming from. It is right. We should be thinking about everybody and the elderly population, the vulnerable groups. Yes. And like the whole campaign that's gone around now about why you should still wear the mask. You know, it's like it's not mandatory anymore. But
you should still wear a mask, yeah. But
there's the thing about like, I wear a mask because, you know, I work in a healthcare setting. I wear a mask because I have a condition. I wear a mask because I want to protect this person. So these campaigns are good, but I get it. Some people want to be really selfish. Some people are very like, this is my thing. And if I've got a negative test, why do I need to have a vaccine? That's a big thing that people are saying. But, you know,
but
hands down.
Like, as a kid, sorry, if you have a kid, you're going to get them vaccinated, aren't you, against all the mass amount of stuff that they can catch. So smallpox, MMR, etc.
Yep.
You're going to get them vaccinated, right? So,
right.
And you don't know the things that are in it. It's down to choice, right? But if you ask that kid what did they want, you're making the choice on their behalf. As a parent, you're going to want to protect your child. Yeah?
Correct, yeah.
So naturally so, if you think in that point of view of like, I'm protecting my child from harm, why wouldn't you protect yourself from harm in that situation of coronavirus and taking the vaccine? It doesn't make sense. And if you don't want to get your kid vaccinated, then if your kid falls seriously ill as a result of it, that's 100% on you. Because you were the guardian and you were the person who chose to not get that done. So no sympathy for you now. If your child falls massively ill because of it, then that's up to you. The same thing can happen to you if you don't have the vaccine. You don't know if your body can handle it. I've seen athletes that have been really, really badly affected by it, and then I've seen people that are normal, fit and well. I've seen people that are really, really ill. You get cases of all types, but what makes you so special that you're not going to be that you're not going to have an adverse reaction? You're just going to fight it off in a day. Nothing can ever. There is no precursor to that. You can't predict that at all.
Absolutely, man. And the story I will tell you today, which happened today, is of this. You know,
save it for later. But yeah.
I will save it for later. But essentially, it's a gentleman with COVID. I'm not going to tell the story, but I basically said to him, I was like, "This is the spectrum of COVID. You could be fine at home, and you could be where you are right now." And this is a person who's sitting in a bay full of other COVID people, and you could see, because of what we're doing in hospitals now, we have to put people in hot zones. So we pull the COVIDs together and put the non-COVIDs together. The people who are COVID together, they're like, oh, we've all got COVID, but he's not as well. He is really well. He's really, really unwell. And so you can see that there is a big spectrum, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. I understand. Okay, I understand the need to be selfish. I understand the choice and all this type of stuff. But you're right. And I think it's because it's so new. I think like with the MMR and all this polio and diphtheria and all the other vaccines, people are kind of normalized to that. Like, when people go traveling, they'll get the yellow fever, typhoid, they get all these malaria stuff. They'll do it all because then it's ingrained, it's become acceptable. This is really new, and for some people, I think there's just for the sake of rebelling. I think it is that as well with some people.
Yeah, I guess there is some aspect.
If it is based on side effects, then really do the research. Stop being smugglers, like we always say in the podcast. Have a thought, have an opinion, critically appraise the data, then make an informed decision.
So in having an opinion, then. I don't agree with the government setting things up with opening the clubs and then saying like a month and a half, you now have to be double vaxxed. I'm like, hang on. By doing that, you're fucking over those club owners because they've opened things up thinking everything's cool, but now you're giving them a month and a half to scramble around, figure out a track and trace system, figure out a way to get people checked on the door and trying to figure all that out. Also, now cases have peaked. They're slowly going down. they're going to go back up now because things have opened up again. So cases are going to get high again. You're only going to see the effect of that in 3 weeks' time. So a lot of this is sort of the government opened it up, but then they added in this weird rule later on because they're just thinking as they go. Why wouldn't you have pre-briefed a club on that to see if they can prepare for it? Or owners on that, owners of a club to sort of prep for it?
We don't know. I mean, backdoor channel, this could have been discussed. We don't know. Maybe club owners were made aware. I know that my gym,
they
for example...
weren't though, because I checked online and all the club owners are saying, we weren't briefed on this at all. And they even said it puts them at a disadvantage compared to restaurants and pubs that don't have to have the same thing. They understand that in a club it's very, very low on ventilation. There's no outdoor air. You're going to have a lot of people in a small confined space. Transmission rates are going to be naturally higher. Cool, I get it. But you are putting them at like a level below. I'm like, okay.
Definitely from an economics point of view, they're definitely going to take it. I also do wonder whether, they're starting with the clubs and then this will filter on to other things, but they're phasing it in, right? Yeah. And ultimately it does become you must have this and you need to have passport, you need to have ID,
I think that's a way to make sure people get the vaccine.
But I have seen an artist, there was an artist, I can't remember his name, but he essentially pulled out of a tour. He basically said, until everybody can attend, I won't perform. And I was like, okay, I understand the standpoint as well.
You're only fucking yourself over there. But yeah.
Well, he's probably good for money. It doesn't make a difference to him. But then you're riling on these other people. You're empowering people to perhaps potentially not do the right thing, which is, get the vaccine.
No, but surely you'd be empowering people to want to do the right thing because they want to go to your show.
Might be the other way, man. If he's saying, I'm not going to turn up because I want you to have a choice. It depends which side of you're looking at it.
Is he saying because he wants them to have a choice or because he's saying I won't go until everybody's allowed?
Until everybody's allowed. But by that he's saying... Yeah, exactly. By that he's saying that this should be a choice. You shouldn't have to have it.
I thought you mean everyone's allowed to attend because they've been vaccinated. Or
he's
allowed to attend.
Everyone's allowed to attend because everyone's allowed to attend whether they choose to have a vaccine or not have a vaccine. That's what he's saying. The performer, whoever it was.
Yeah. I guess that could go either way. It depends on how you interpret it, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does depend on how you interpret it. So,
imagine.
You got any plans to go to clubs?
Well, hang on. Imagine though, club owner said, "Oh, it's going to kill spontaneous custom doing this," and I'm like, hang on. Who the fuck dresses up in the night and says, "I feel like going to a club on a night out"? You prep your whole day around it. Especially if you've got dress codes and stuff. That doesn't make any sense.
Dress codes,
that argument is so flawed. Especially for like guys that have really stringent dress codes that they have to adhere by. In like
shoes, smart shoes.
Smart shoes. I don't like
collars.
Shoes. You can't get in. No
trainers.
Sorry, collars only.
No Air Jordans. Okay?
Oh,
no, that's shit. Remember that scene in Inbetweeners?
Key.
No trainers. And he goes around the corner. There's that guy. And he gets his shoes.
In trainers.
No, he gets that guy in it, the homeless guy, and he takes his shoes.
Oh god, yeah.
Gives shoes.
Oh man, I forgot Inbetweeners was so cringe, but it was so good as well.
Inbetweeners is one of the best shows ever made, man.
Go to TV show, man. So yeah, man, I think it's a weird one how the government just went about that with the whole Freedom Day shit. They just opened shit up and said, yeah, afterwards we can do the double vax thing later, but it's going to be really, really fucked up to see how it all works out.
I'd be interested to see what the stats do and if the numbers do go up.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how it can go in that way. It's weird how the government's asking people to use common sense and responsibility, but then they're saying you must be double vaccinated to go here. To be fair, I can see why, because the government is so people are just so pathetic at using their own common sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. The common sense thing is wild. You can't leave people to their own devices.
You can't, but then if you rule them with a sort of totalitarian approach, they feel like, is this a democracy? Is this autocracy? Like, we're just being told what to do. But sometimes you need that, man. You need strong leadership telling you this is what needs to happen for the greater good of people.